Welcome everyone to this afternoon's Release 18.4 Billing Updates webinar. This is Ellen Patterson, and I will be walking you through the changes that will be going into effect this coming Saturday on October 20th. So we're going to just go through a few items and answer any questions you might have. Just so you're aware, we cannot hear anything you're saying. Everyone is by default in silent mode and muted. So in order to be respectful of everyone's time, if you have questions, there is a question section on the webinar audio controls, and you can enter your question there and we will answer as many as we can before the end of the webinar. If there are any that are unanswered, we will get you the answers following the webinar. So our agenda for today is to go through the changes in the billing module. The first thing we're going to go over is the revenue cycle dashboard user queue. Then the billing query window enhancements, the new claim window overview, and we will touch on our upcoming batch eligibility feature. So without further ado, the first item we're going to cover is the revenue cycle dashboard user queue. This has been designed so that if you have the type of practice where things are split up between who works on what types of claims or what process in the claim cycle, that those can be set up to provide an individualized workflow for a specific user or group of users. The individual queue is accessed by clicking where it says revenue cycle to access your own queue. So if we look in the database, right now I am showing for myself just the regular revenue cycle. But if I click where it says revenue cycle, it is going to show me only those things that have been assigned to my user or user group, as far as the specific tasks that I have been assigned by someone within the database. And so that will limit down what there is available and what areas that you have access to. As far as setup goes, there's a new setup portal within the setup area called Billing Queue, and this will allow an administrator to be able to set up the user queues based on various criteria under the Setup tab. So if you go to the Setup area, you have Billing Queue. And then each one of these sections of the revenue cycle is its own tab. So you have your summary, prepare, submit. As you can see, you can choose to route or not items. You can have a default assignment for a specific section, or you can choose to route to a specific person. If you select that area, the entire area can be this, or you can assign, say, a specific user to handle any claim issues, or if there's someone who is supposed to go through and clean up missing data, you can do that, or you can go in individually and choose, what that routing is going to be, and you can do for a specific user, or you can assign a different way. So we will be walking people through this in a separate training following the release for any clients who wish to use that, and we will advertise that coming up. Also, if you are a small office and you are not using the billing queue routing is not something that would apply to your office. Nothing will change following the release. You will continue to see the revenue cycle as is, and it will not be an issue for you moving forward. So next up are our billing query enhancements. We have not made a lot of changes to the billing query screen itself. The first thing we've done is we've made the billing query toolbar stationary and aligned over to the left, so it is in one spot, regardless of whether or not you have your search criteria window open. The results total to show how many of your rows you have is now contained down in the bottom left instead of the upper right. And you have the option to create a custom task for a claim or group of claims in order to have those set also through the revenue cycle. So if I am in my billing query, as you can see, the toolbar stays the same regardless of where my search criteria are. My results are down at the bottom, so there were 57 results. And then also I can do a custom task list where I can select, name it, I can assign it to another person. These claims happen to be in the managed section of the cycle, and I can put any notes on here I want to. So I can set it for myself, I can set it for someone else. So if there's something specific that needs to be done, say with a certain payer's claims, you can assign somebody that task or set it up for yourself. The next item, which is where we've made the most changes, is our new claim screen. The idea behind this, the reasoning behind it, was that if you opened the claim from different areas, the claim window would look different. So we wanted to consolidate everything into a single claim window, regardless from where you accessed it. We wanted to add some additional functionality. And this is the claim window that will be seen throughout the entire database, regardless of where you open it, whether it is for in billing query or billing account query, however you want to do that. So I'm going to go through each of the items in some detail. So I'm going to go ahead and open a claim. By default, in billing query, the claim will open up in this frame like the quick claim used to. You do have the option of opening a claim using what we're referring to as the claim pop-out, which will open it in a separate window. So the first section is the status section, or the claim overall section. So this is going to include your claim number, the claim status, substatus, your patient information, although we've added a couple of extra fields in the location and provider. This is also where you will access the authorization screen to attach an authorization. If a patient has an authorization, you would click on the authorization button. You would click to go into the authorization section, find your authorization, and assign it to the claim. So we have that. If you are not using the authorization tracking process, it is possible to just go in here and type in either a referral or an authorization number, but that will not count any towards the authorization tracking. In the service section, we've added so that all of the various providers that you might need can be seen within the same screen, as well as the referring provider date. So that information is readily available without having to go into a separate window. and that section can be collapsed if you don't use any of those. The middle section for your procedures and diagnoses has not changed very much. The difference here is that there is a right-click menu which takes over many of the functions that were, used off the menu button within the other claim screen. Clear will just erase the field you're in. Reset will reset the field value back to what it was originally saved as. Search is to search either procedure codes or diagnosis codes, depending on which box you're in. Delete will remove a line item from a claim. This is the same as the Alt-R functionality used to be. And recovery allows you to recover a deleted procedure line if there's a problem and you need to rearrange things. Of course, the up and down allow you to rearrange your procedure lines within the claim. So if you have something that needs to drop to the bottom, you can do that, or something that needs to go up to the top. Additional is going to be specific to the procedures, and this is the same as what you would see if you double-clicked in the procedure code box on the old claim screen. It's called the expanded diagnosis information. Authorization here is for a procedure-specific authorization. NDC is to allow you to add your NDC information for a specific code, and comment would be an additional procedure-specific comment. If something does not match the defaults, you'll see it highlighted in yellow the way it is here. If there is a problem, it will be highlighted in red instead. Adding new items to the claim hasn't changed. You can use your down arrow to continue to go, or you can click your add new item. And it's also a toggle to go back and forth between the diagnosis codes. So by default, you're going to see the first 4, but if you click on the toggle, it will move you up to the next 4. And if you click it, it will take you back. So that's all there and accessible. And then finally down here at the bottom, we get to the additional information messaging. So for example, instead of at the top of the screen blocking the claim, here is where we are seeing the patient pop-up alerts for this claim. This will only pop up once when you initially open the claim. Once you close it, after that, you would need to click here to view the alerts again, but it's notifying you that there is an alert. Okay. The additional information in general, we've made your dates focused, but you can also jump to specific sections if you have added information. And then in the add information, this is basically the equivalent of the tabs across the bottom. So you're going to have, for example, those extra dates, numbers, codes, and identifiers is where you would put in an original reference ICN number and a resubmission code if you needed those to submit a corrected claim. Narrative is where you would go in to put in corrected claim, the version that is the same as box 19. So all of this information is contained under those additional values. And once you have something in there, it will show you those and jump you straight to that area. For your messages and monitoring, this is going to give you the same information as it did basically on the validation tab, but it is also going to give you information based on information that used to be in the claim monitor window. So it's going to look for anything that might be a monitoring issue and let you know what that is. You can also, if there's It's going to show you if the claim passes validations of any type. The aging information is going to show you primary and statement, so you have that information readily available. Claim comments are here. So these are going to be either user comments or system comments. Activity log is a brief audit that's going to show you activities as far as by modifications. You can choose to see the full log or export it to Excel. The other option, if you're more comfortable viewing it the way you have been, is that you can go up to the gear icon and go to audit, and that will open the traditional claim audit window that you are used to seeing. So that is the information on this screen. The only difference between how this opens versus if you are using billing account query is that by default, the claim will open in the pop-out mode. So it will open as a separate window. And in billing query, it will make the other window go away. So it's going to do that. And I apologize, we're still in our testing environment, so it runs a little slow sometimes. The other thing is that while you have a claim open, you can still see other claims and select them. So if you have this claim open and you have determined that you actually need to be looking at this claim, you can still come over here, double click, and open that claim instead. You also have your various options. You can still copy a claim. You can create a work list to open claims. You can save, and you can move between claims. Your history is going to be the choices you're used to, either claim history or patient history. Now in the claim window, we have what we're referring to as submission history. This is the view submission window. And so it is going to break it down, again, all the same information you had based on the date, the submission type, and all of the messages from the payer. If you need to see those messages, before there was a little box with an up arrow, now you can click view and either view the EDI claim submission or view the HCFA. That information is, of course, still available under view submission here and view submission from the history screen as well. Payments is going to, this is the add payment window. This is, it opens the quick claim window, and this is your receipt analysis. The invalid payments is just going to be an indicator to you that you've received a payment from a specific payer who is no longer on the claim. And so things don't match up properly. Of course, your patient options are going to be the same ones you had, including being able to view progress notes, enter accident-related cause information, et cetera. So a lot of the information that you had to dig for is now readily available, and you know, it's a little bit easier to read and follow along to update. So finally, as our last topic, we are introducing a batch eligibility feature. This will allow you to check eligibility on multiple patients who are on the schedule at once. You will also be able to check how many days in advance you want to run that eligibility. It will run automatically overnight, and then you will get either a green umbrella showing you that it was a successful check or a red umbrella showing you that they were inactive. If there's a hourglass, that means that it is in the process of pending. There is also a new addition to the My Tasks list that will be available to you to cover the batch eligibility as well. You do not necessarily have to use this option again if you want to. We are currently taking applications for people to be beta testers. So following this release, there will be a couple of months where we will have clients as beta testers and contributing some thoughts to this process. Then as of the end of the year, the first of the year, then we will be releasing it out to everybody to be turned on, and you would add it as an additional product the way you do now with statements or call reminders or other features that we have available for you. So if you are interested in becoming a beta tester, please email support@isalishealthcare.com and let us know this, and your name will be added to a list. Following the release, we will be reaching out to those clients to get everything set up for them so that they can be testing the batch eligibility feature. So it is up to you, if you are using that or not. If you're not currently using the regular eligibility feature, there is no reason why you need to have the batch eligibility or vice versa. So they are two separate functions. So I would like to thank you for attending today's webinar. If you have questions on anything that I did not cover, now would be the time to type those into your question portal, and I will answer those as I go. Anything that doesn't get answered, you can always send in as a question to support@isalishealthcare.com, and we will answer those for you. There is also a handout available with this webinar that goes through the new claim screen in detail for your reference. Well, I have a question. In the claim overview screen, I showed a diagnosis dropdown. I'm not entirely sure what you're referring to as far as, are you referring to the ability to search for procedures or diagnosis codes? I'm sorry, I'm not quite understanding the question. I apologize. So the search is a right click in either the procedure code or the diagnosis code box, and that will bring up your list of codes, and you can go ahead and then select a code to add to the claim. Well, if you have a diagnosis saved for a client in their EMR, is still based on the problem list. You would not be able to access the patient's diagnoses from the problem list. These are populated based on the superbill being completed, and the superbill has the problem list information in it. You can, if you need to, look at the patient's history for a previous claim, and if you have your display, if you have the display diagnosis section set, you can see what they had as their diagnosis previously. Question has to do with claims going forward. You can't see the problem list. You can see the problem list in the super bill, but not in the billing module. You'll always be able to see the problem list in the super bill. We haven't made any changes there, but that's never been accessible in billing. Any additional questions? Okay, if there are no other questions, that will wrap up today's webinar. Again, we appreciate you attending the webinar. Thank you for working with iSalus, and everybody have a good rest of your afternoon, and we look forward to being able to share our new functionality with you all. Thank you very much, and have a good day.